Hi, my name is Genae Girard, and I'm the author of Off the Rack, and I'm the creator of Beyond the Baby Trap, and I'm here with Dr. Vanessa Fritz.
Hi.
And she's a naturopathic doctor, and she is with Austin Natural Family Medicine.
That is correct.
In Austin, Texas. So welcome, Dr. Fritz.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things that you talked about, too, that I had no knowledge of, I had studied stress response and things like that, but I had no idea about cortisol levels. And when you were talking about cortisol levels, I said, yeah, I've read about that, but I never thought about how to work with it or try to control that. Or can you address that a little bit?
So definitely this routine helps with the cortisol levels, and sleeping at the times that I'm telling you helps with that. Cortisol levels should be high in the morning and low at night, and they follow kind of a curve, right? A lot of times at your regular doctor's office, they'll check your cortisol levels. Again, they're looking for pathology. They're saying, okay, is it sky high, or is it is there any there? And usually people have something within our normal range. Well, normal is this really, really wide range. I get a lot more information when I test it 4 times a day. So you're testing your morning, your noon, your afternoon, your evening levels. So you can make a curve and kind of assess, okay, is it following the curve it's supposed to, or is it kind of all jagged, or is it flatline? And so that kind of helps me see, where it is that your where it is that you are in the stress response, right? A lot of times when people are having issues with sleep, issues with sleep can come from a number of different places. But a lot of times when your cortisol levels are high at night, that's preventing somebody from falling asleep. When they're saying, oh, I just feel all wired at night, I have trouble falling asleep, or I'm getting my second wind, well, that's because probably their cortisol levels are a little bit elevated at night. So there's a few things with sleep hygiene that we can talk about is, in bed, don't read anything. They say not to read anything more stimulating than the Bible. And that's kind of, so like a good mystery novel might be a great thing for you, but not right before bed. Or watching TV, or being online, or taking a laptop to bed, and just all that radiation from the TV and all those colors and the lights, it's just way too stimulating for your brain. So things like that are really helpful. I use a product called Cortisol Manager. It's a natural product. It's a blend of different things that are different supplements, herbal and nutritional supplements, that help you lower your nighttime cortisol levels. Because if your nighttime cortisol levels are really high, melatonin, which is another compound that is released in your brain, that also follows these circadian rhythms. If cortisol is high, then melatonin is going to be low. And at nighttime, your melatonin should be high. So a lot of times people think, okay, I'm going to take some melatonin, go to bed, and then it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because the cortisol levels are kind of suppressing it.
Interesting.
And so taking this product at night really helps to lower the cortisol levels, which helps you get much better sleep. Now, again, that might not be your issue. Your issue of not being able to sleep might be something totally different. So, of course, it's not going to work across the board. But I get pretty good results with that.
Well, one of the other things that we had talked about that I was didn't even think about when we were talking was toxins in our environment, our homes, the stress toxins. When we had talked, I actually went home and started scouting out. Can you address that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, why doesn't everybody get breast cancer? Why, we don't really know why you got it and versus not somebody else, given the same, similar environments, right? And that's a really long, complicated thing. But one thing that has been linked to a lot of cancers and a lot of imbalances in the female reproductive system, not only breast cancer, but things like endometriosis or PCOS, are basically chemicals in our environment that are interfering with the proper functioning of our hormones. And these are ubiquitous. They are all over the place right now. And so this is the whole concept of environmental medicine. Unfortunately, with the industrialization of our society, which has brought us many benefits, the byproducts and the side effects of all that have been all the polluting of our environment. And you don't need to live near a nuclear power plant or a toxic waste dump or anything like that to have, to be exposed to these chemicals. They're really everywhere. Many household products will have ingredients that are listed on EPA's toxic chemical list, and yet they're still allowed to be in these products. For example, in indoor air pollution, we think, especially now in Texas with the wildfires that are out, we think outdoor air pollution is bad. really indoor air pollution is worse than outdoor air pollution because of all the toxic things that we have in our homes. Many construction materials like carpeting, like wall-to-wall carpeting, the kind of glues often have chemicals in there. There's often formaldehyde in there. New furniture will often off-gas all different kinds of chemicals. Flame retardant in mattresses will off-gas chemicals. And of course, you don't want your mattress, you don't want to burn in your mattress, but there's people that are just so sensitive to those chemicals. Dry cleaning is another example. Those are extremely toxic chemicals. And where are you storing your dry cleaning? In your bedroom, in your closet, right?
Yeah.
And so you're at the very least, the recommendation is to make your bedroom as safe as possible and as chemical free as possible. Because ideally, you're spending, 1/4 to 1/3 of your life in your bedroom when you're sleeping. You're sleeping 8 hours a night. So if you must dry clean, try to take it to an eco-friendly dry cleaning. There are options for that here in Austin. If you can't do that, obviously don't buy clothes that need to be dry cleaned. And if you do, then you can air it out in your garage or somewhere that's not in your room for a week before you bring it in, because we know that it stays in the clothes and that you're exposed to it. Cleaning products. Cleaning products, foods now have the labels, and on the labels they have anything that's edible has to show exactly what is in there, right? But they don't have to do that for cleaning products. So most cleaning companies don't want to tell you what's in there, and there's a lot of toxic chemicals, and there's chlorine and everything. Chlorine is not only bad for you, but it's really bad for the environment, and it kills off fish in the streams. And so there's definitely ways of cleaning. We don't need chlorine to clean. We really don't. We can get by with baking soda and vinegar, and there's tons of guides out there how to just clean with those two things. The dryer sheets that you put in your laundry to soften your clothes and to reduce static electricity, those have formaldehyde in them. Those have all these other chemicals in them.
It's horrible.
And nowadays there are some responsible companies that are listing what they have, what they're made of, so that you know what you're being exposed to. Anything with fragrances, that's the other thing people don't realize. There's just ad after ad after ad everywhere about making your home smell nicer. And all those fragrances, even in like these beautiful $50 candles that people think, oh, what a great gift. But even if they're not paraffin candles, all the scents, all the fragrances in there, if they're not derived from a natural plant, if they're not essential oils but just synthetic fragrances, those can be very toxic to the environment too. And people think they're doing a good thing, and they're actually it's actually really bad for you. Cosmetics contain a lot of things like parabens. We're hearing a lot about parabens that are used as preservatives in a lot of shampoos and creams and makeup and all these things that have been, there's research starting to show that it can disrupt estrogen, disrupt female hormones. Plastics, that's another huge source of environmental chemicals, and ones that we know are endocrine disruptors, not only with the phthalates and the BPA, but there's many other chemicals and plastics that also disrupt the endocrine system. The safer plastics are the ones, if you look at the plastic, there'll be a little number, and the number 1 to 3 will be safer. They won't have BPA than the numbers 4 through 7. But again, BPA is just one of many chemicals to look at. So not storing your food in plastic. Definitely not cooking your food in plastic, like heating it in the microwave in plastic. Not storing your water in plastic. I keep a stainless steel in a glass water bottle, and that's a huge thing. Well, one bottle isn't going to do much. Drinking the contents of one water bottle isn't going to do much to you. But over a lifetime, especially if genetically you're just not very good at detoxing from these things. And there's people who, whose genetic material, their genetic expression is not as strong for all these biochemical pathways for detoxing.